This is the What About You podcast, and I'm here today with Natalie Fortier. We'll start with a prayer. Today, let's say the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Amen. All right, and a message to all the listeners. So we're on all of the platforms now, YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc., other places. So wherever you're listening to this now, it would be much appreciated if you would subscribe to the podcast and rate it 5 stars. If you would like to rate it something less than 5 stars, it'd be better for me if you just didn't rate it at all, which is cool. But I would just appreciate it, If you had a podcast, I would do it for you. And so, Natalie, let's get started by, would you tell us about your parents?
Okay. My mom's name's Darlene. She is retired at this point, but she used to work for the government. She worked with families in the welfare department. She had a long background of other things that she did, but that was her main job, was working for the welfare department. My dad, Lucian, worked at charity for 32 years. He is also currently retired. He was an x-ray tech. He has a side job at a local urgent care, working the front desk and doing x-rays as well. So...
Tell me about the job of an x-ray tech. Is that something that you considered when you were looking?
Absolutely not.
What are the good things and bad things about an x-ray tech?
The good things are they are able to figure out what is actually wrong with you. The bad things are sometimes they're bloody. That's why I would never want to do that. Because
I've heard good things about that job and like allied health jobs in general.
Yes. He loved it.
You can get paid very well, in demand, and it's not super long to even get trained in a lot of these.
No, it is a very good job to have. He enjoyed it very much. He went to school for it. He worked his way up to management, and he was in charge of the x-ray department before he retired from charity.
I learned recently, early in the 20th century, when they were first having the x-ray machines, that over in London, the x-ray techs, to calibrate the machine, they would x-ray their hand every morning. And so they learned the effects of that, radiation wise. Their hand got all, shriveled.
He still has to wear a monitor on him whenever he takes any kind of x-rays, just to make sure he's not very exposed to the radiation.
And so tell me about your childhood and upbringing.
So as far as what I wanted to do with
my life, maybe
or...
what part of town were you born and raised in and that kind of thing?
I grew up in Chalmette. I went to elementary school and middle school in Chalmette as well. And then for high school, I transferred to Cabrini in 8th grade.
My wife works in Chalmette.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. She's worked there basically for almost, I think, about 20 years.
That's amazing.
For the most part, yeah. For the longest time, it was this place called Bridges Physical Therapy, but they sold.
Yeah.
And then now it's a place called Clements Physical Therapy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So she just loves the people of Chalmette, even though it's a commute for her. She enjoys it, and the people she works with.
It's a different breed down there.
Yeah, it is different. And so it gets in your blood and stuff like that. You can't find it anywhere else. It's kind of it's sort of like a little version of New Orleans. People want to, when I was young, I wanted to move out for more opportunities, more excitement and stuff. But then when I did, then you learn that the people aren't the same anywhere else. And so for that and so other reasons, that's why I decided to make my life here. And Chalmette's kind of a little microcosm of that. It's
absolutely.
So Anything interesting that you care to share, like in your elementary and middle school years? Not necessarily at school, but just, did you have any brothers and sisters, things like that?
I have one sister, older sister, named Michelle. She works at Cabrini as well. She always wanted a little sister. She actually, at one point in her life, decided to call the 1-800 number to try and buy a sister online. I mean, off the telephone, because they didn't have online back then.
So you were her little baby when you...
Yes. And then probably around the age of 4, I just got on her nerves, and she was done with me. But we have a better relationship now. We always had a good relationship, but I think I just aggravated her, as little sisters do.
What about, did you do any kind of extracurriculars in elementary and middle school age?
I was pretty active, sports-wise, but I was terrible at the sports. I was really bad at the sports.
And you didn't like them, or you liked it?
No, I liked it, but I would get hit in the face with the ball,
That kind of happened to me, actually. I was playing baseball, and then as older I got, the faster the ball went.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I didn't like that. And then, so this coach says, "You're going to do catcher." And I was like, "No, I'm not going to do a catcher." And he's like, "Yeah, you're doing it." And I was scared. So every time that the pitch would come, it made me nervous, this bat going right over my head and the ball coming fast. And I wasn't, and so I'd turn my head and sort of close my eyes to catch it. And so I did that, and the ball hit me right in the ear.
Oh.
And then my ear was just ringing like you wouldn't believe for about, I don't know, a half hour. And then after that was the end of my season there.
Yeah.
But then a year or two later, I went back and played one more season of baseball, but it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, same thing with the baseball. I was the catcher, got caught in the face with the ball. Basketball, same thing, got hit in the face with the ball. My mom was like, "That's enough. It's enough. No more bloody noses."
Yeah. Well, so then tell me about your experience at Cabrini when you were a student.
Oh, I loved Cabrini. I started in 8th grade. I went to a summer camp first. So I met my first lifelong friend during that summer camp. And my 5 years here were fantastic. I'm not scholarly. I'm smart in my own way, but no valedictorian over here.
But your sister was,
She
right?
was.
So wait, did you feel any pressure from that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, because you already knew who you were,
knew
and
who
you're
I
like,
was.
"I'm not going to be valedictorian." So,
Absolutely
and your parents already kind of knew too, right? Yeah, same
Yeah.
sort of thing. Like with some of my kids. I mean, they're all smart and everything, but there's different intelligences,
Absolutely.
right? There's not just smart or not smart.
Yeah.
Some kids are really smart in ways that project where they do excellent in high school academics,
Yes.
but then they're not so smart in other areas and all kinds of different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, with my kids, you can tell by first or second grade or when the standardized tests come back and stuff like that, and just the grades and stuff, you can pretty much tell.
Yeah. I mean, I was good at school. It just wasn't the greatest.
Yeah. High school is a different animal, though,
It
because
is.
you have to be. There's a lot of different things if you want to be excellent at a high school academics. You have to be a jack of all trades for one thing.
Absolutely,
You have
yeah.
to know math, science, social studies, English, et cetera,
Yes.
foreign language. And so if you're not a person that can pay close attention and adapt to things you're not interested in at all, you're probably not going to be a great student. And that was me and most people in high school, right? But you're just... So the point, I think, though, is to get exposed to all these things so you have a well-rounded base education, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so did you do any extracurricular?
I was on the drama, but I had terrible stage fright, so I wasn't very good at the drama. But that was about it.
Who was the director?
Caroline Argus at the time. She had just turned from Argus to Harris when I was in school.
Yeah, when I first got here, she, I think, still sometimes went by Argus or Argus Harris or something. Yeah, and so Then you finish. Anything else you want to mention as far as like Cabrini years before we move along? To the other.
I really enjoyed all of my teachers that were here. I know Mr. Buse is still here. I still remember the one unnecessary thing that you should ever know is like the capitals of Hungary and wait, it's Hungary and Romania, because you rest when you roam. Wait, you're pest when you're hungry, and you rest after you roam. So it's Budapest and Bucharest.
Oh yeah,
it's unnecessary right now in my life, but I will remember that forever.
And so you graduate, and then
I do.
Where do you go after Cabrini?
I graduated in 2005, so I went to Delgado for a week, and then Katrina hit. So I was going to Delgado for culinary / pastry, which is what I graduated in. But it was a little longer of a road to get there with Katrina and everything.
How long before that did you know that you're really interested in
I knew
culinary?
At a very early age, probably around maybe 6 or 7.
And even you knew pastries, like in particular, like to cook those?
I loved cooking with my mom, but baking was my favorite thing. So
I know another student, I'm not going to mention the name, but she actually lives in St. Bernard Parish, and she specializes in cooking pastries.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's interesting.
Must be the water.
Yeah, it must be. And so tell me about your Katrina experience.
18, freshly graduated, still living at home, obviously. In St. Bernard, there was only maybe 2 structures that were undamaged from the flooding and everything. So we lost everything for Katrina and then Rita right after. But it was a long road back. We sat down as a family, my mom, my dad, my sister. We're like, all right, what do we want to do now? Like, we've lost everything. Where do we go from here? And like, we all came together and like, we want to go back. Like, there's no place like home, Dorothy. No place like home. So it took a while. It took about 1.5 years for my parents' house to be rebuilt. Michelle bought a house that was gutted, so it didn't take as long for her house to be finished. So I think hers was about maybe 1 year or so. So we lived with her for a little while, and then we moved into our house about 1 year after.
Did you or anybody else, you don't have to mention names, have effects of like delayed trauma related to what happened in Katrina?
I think I didn't really have any trauma from Katrina. I think I was kind of minimalistic. Like, I didn't care about the stuff. I just cared about family. I cared that my dog was with me. I cared about my guinea pig that was with me, and everything else I didn't care about. I know my mom and dad probably have a lot of stuff that they don't tell us because they were the ones that came and gutted everything. They wouldn't allow my sister and I to come down and see all of the devastation. They didn't want us to experience any of that.
Yeah, that's like what I remember. I was fine with Katrina, but then, so Katrina was at the end of August. Around the end of December, then I had like about a week period where I would just really felt the effects, from. And it's just kind of, I guess I had been suppressing how because I had, for my house, I lived in Eden Isles, and so the water was chest deep in the house.
Yes.
And so I think it's, the difficult thing like people talk about is pictures that are lost or other irreplaceable things. Like I lost my senior ring in Katrina. And so I didn't really care about the senior ring before that, after I had been a senior.
Right.
But ever since then, especially working at a high school, then on senior, when the seniors get their rings, they say, "Oh, bring your senior ring." Yeah. So always now wish that I had that, and other kinds of things that you lose.
Yeah.
So after Katrina's now over, and you get back into the culinary program.
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. So I started back again. Actually, during the Katrina part, we did it online. It was a little crazy because
the speeds weren't that great
right.
on the Wi-Fi.
It's terrible. It's terrible time for internet. But got back into it. Graduated in 2009. And then again in 2011. So 2009, I had my certificate for culinary. And then 2011 is when I got my pastry certificate. And all that time, I was working for Dickie Brennan's. I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah.
A famous local family. So I worked in his restaurants. I had experience at Palace Cafe, Bourbon House, Steakhouse, Tableau, and then when they opened up the commissary, I worked over there as well.
Is he still alive?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And his whole family is big in New Orleans restaurants.
Yes, very big in New Orleans. They are one of the founding fathers of New Orleans culinary,
especially in the French Quarter, downtown kind of area.
Absolutely.
Right? And one of their restaurants is known especially for its brunch, right?
Mm-hmm. That's Brennan's.
Okay.
That's the other part of the family.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they've split, the different brothers and then sisters and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So then after 11, you have your pastry certificate. Mm-hmm. You continue to work at Dickie Brennan's restaurants?
I did. I worked there for about 16 and a half years.
Wow.
And during that time, I was mostly in the pastry department at all 4 of the restaurants. And at the commissary, I would work in the baking part. If they needed me for anything, like if somebody didn't show up, I just worked the line. And then, it just got to be a bit too much after that long of a time.
Yeah. It's time for a new chapter.
Definitely time for a new chapter.
Yeah, I think that's just normal in life, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have the opportunity. A lot of people maybe would like a new chapter,
Absolutely.
but situation won't allow them at that time or
Right.
whatever. So you had an opportunity to do that, and it's fresh start.
Yes.
And but before we move along, so what's life like in working in the restaurant industry?
It is crazy. You don't have normal hours of operation. You get your weekends, you're not to yourself. You don't have any weekends to yourself. Most of the holidays you're working. The only time we were ever closed for a holiday was Christmas Day. Christmas Eve you'd be working, day after Christmas you'd be working. All of those. No holidays. Unless you requested it well in advance.
But then people like to go out after the place closes and stuff together sometimes. Have y'all ever do that?
Yeah. There's a lot of camaraderie because you're all in this same circumstance where you're just dead tired after a shift. So, and
it's
you've been
almost
working
like
together.
A military kind of a thing, or
sort of
football kind of a thing, where you're going this fast paced kind of high stress kind of thing, and then it's over.
You just
and
need
then
to
you've got
decompress.
and your adrenaline maybe is still going, and a lot of people are young, and sometimes in the restaurants, let's go out here and there and stuff like that. So it sounds like kind of a fun lifestyle too, right?
Yeah, I never really partook in any of that. I was pretty much a homebody because I didn't work at nights.
Mm-hmm.
I worked mostly in the morning, so I never went out after and had a drink or anything like that.
So the pastry is something you can make.
Yes.
Before, like that morning of, and then serve that night.
Pastries are mostly in the morning. We get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and be done with your work by about 2-3 o'clock.
What are some pastries that you make there, or most common ones that you made?
Most common ones, white chocolate bread pudding, obviously. Pecan pie.
It wasn't obvious for me, but okay.
Pecan pie. We used to do a crab meat cheesecake, not savory. but it's still considered a pastry because you bake it.
Doesn't sound good.
It actually is very good.
Oh.
It's savory. It's not sweet like a cheesecake. It's just called a cheesecake because it has a cream cheese in it. So it's more like a cheesy, cream cheesy quiche, sort of.
Oh yeah, I can see that then.
Yeah. So that's really famous. If you ever go to Palace Cafe.
Have you ever made a blackout cake?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you like those?
I do like those.
What about a turtle?
Turtles are fun. I do like turtles.
What about a buttermilk drop?
I only did.
I like Mackenzie's pastries.
Yeah.
Well, when Mackenzie's was still open,
when it was good.
Yeah.
And open.
I don't know if I know they still kind of have a thing or whatever, but I live on the North Shore now, so they don't even. But when I was growing up, they were the thing.
Yeah. only made donuts a couple of times, and unfortunately, they were not buttermilk drops. Sorry about that.
Have you ever opened any kind of business, or would you consider opening some sort of pastry business?
I do have a business on the side. It's called Parish Girl Bakery.
How do you spell that?
Parish. Girl.
Bakery. And do y'all have a website or anything?
Mm-hmm. I do it through Facebook.
Okay,
so I have
it's a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to Facebook, and then you would just search Parish Girl Bakery, and that would take you to the page, and then you like the page or something to get on.
Like the page, you can message me if you have any wants or needs.
And so what kind of things do you supply as far as with your business?
Mostly wedding cakes, birthday cakes, stuff like that. I do decorated cookies, like sugar cookies, cupcakes, mostly party desserts.
Why do people come to you as opposed to go into, I don't know, someplace in Chalmette that's a storefront that's a...
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. I have a lot of word of mouth customers, so I'll have somebody like at church that'll like partake in something that I've made, and then they'll talk to their friends and be like, "Hey, I need somebody to make this cake," and they're like, "Wait, hold, I got you."
So they like the food you make,
yes.
for one.
Yeah.
Are you able to produce are you able to charge a more competitive price because of lower overhead, not having the storefront and all that kind of thing?
Yes, I do have better prices.
So that's another. So you get this professional who's been in the business, trained at Dickie Brennan's, and makes better or just as good, but you get it for a less price.
Yeah.
So it seems like anybody aware of that, like anybody listening now, if you need a wedding cake or birthday cake or anything for a party or other stuff, just go to Facebook and search Parish Girl Bakery and like it, and then now you can save yourself some money.
Yes.
When you're on your wedding cake, birthday cake, parties, all those types of things, wherever you need pastries, and you're going to have better food, and you got money in your pocket because you're not paying for somebody else's storefront. What's right. better? So you have your business, and you were working at Dickie Brennan's, and you decided time for a new chapter. So where do you go from there?
Where I go from here, I go to Cabrini.
Okay.
My sister, who works at Cabrini, she knew that there was a job opening at the front desk as the administrative assistant, and she told me about it, and I was like, because I'd been thinking about leaving for a little while. It just got to be too much. After the pandemic, I was the only one in the pastry department, basically. So when she let me know about that, I put in my resume, and I came and did an interview, and I got the job.
And so what's it like running the front desk at a high school?
It is challenging at times. It is very challenging at times. It's a lot of fun work. I like working with everyone here, and I love the girls. You kind of have to be an octopus at some times. Lots of arms needed.
And you get to have a relationship with a lot of different people, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I would imagine you get to do a little bit of a lot of different things, because people come to you as sort of like a first responder kind of, And so you're doing all kinds of different things all day.
Yeah, put out a lot of fire sometimes.
Okay, well, that's all the time that we have for today because of the
bell.
Yeah, because of the bell. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And look forward to next time.
Sure. Yeah, if you'll have me back.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.